David, you've had a remarkable career as a physicist, extending our knowledge in quantum theory. And you've had this remarkable experience with the Dalai Lama and Buddhism, which to some people would sound contradictory.
Well, that's reasonable. It comes out of quantum mechanics, which is pretty self-contradictory. The further you go into quantum mechanics, the harder it is to hold on to any absolutes. Anything you interact with, you change. Before quantum theory, you had the feeling you saw the world as it is. Mm-hmm. And I think after I was in quantum theory for a while, it really became a four-letter word for me. But you can't make a theory without some absolutes. You begin with some things you don't define that everyone's supposed to understand. And so it seemed suicidal to accept the idea that everything is relative. So you couldn't do physics that way, it seemed to me. Then I just happened to be standing behind Professor Robert Thurman of Columbia University, head of their theology department, when he was saying to someone else that in the school of Buddhism of the Dalai Lama, the idea that all is emptiness is understood as all is relative. And boy, did I light up. This is the first place I'd heard anybody saying that all is relative. So then I was invited to a Mind and Life conference in '97, where we spent 5 days in dialogue on Buddhist and Western cosmology. 5 Western scientists and the Dalai Lama. And that gave me a chance to bring this question up, and it was just enormously refreshing. First of all, he took it for granted that everything is relative, that there are quanta of space and quanta of time. I've been working for a long time on quantum space-time. There's the idea of the chronon, the quantum of time, and there's an analogous thing for space. And I learned to my pleasure that this too is part of the Dalai Lama's cosmology. And I realized there was no inconsistency between believing that everything is relative and making physical theories with absolutes in them. You just have to understand that every physical theory is wrong. That's all. They're good for a certain domain, and they wear out and they have to be replaced. So to function, you pretend that there are these absolutes that you take for granted, but you don't take them too seriously, and you get ready you try to be ready to replace them, or things you haven't even thought of when they don't work any longer.
And did you really profit in your science or your scientific intuition from those interactions?
If there isn't going to be a final theory, we have to accept that physics is going to evolve. And as physicists, that means we should have an understanding of how it evolves. So I focused my energy not on finding the theory, but on trying to find the path that theories take. And what I learned was to adopt a more thoroughgoing empirical approach. That's really the core of the Dalai Lama's philosophy, that all knowledge is empirical. Another thing we grooved on is the empirical nature of logic. He was interested in the ideas of quantum logic, intuitionistic logic, and so forth, because they're all based on experience. They're not based on faith.